Okay, we're going to give everyone just a few more minutes because there's still a lot of people logging on. Okay. We're getting some really weird background noise, so please make sure you're muted. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Just so everyone is aware, we are obviously recording this meeting just in case there are people who couldn't make it today. So thank you for hopping on. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa McAdam. I'm the Executive Director of the State Public Charter School Authority. I'll just quickly introduce our team to save time. We have Jennifer Villanueva here. Hi, if you're logging on, please make sure you're muted. She is the Director of Finance and Operations. Those of you who were familiar with Jen Bauer, she is Jen Bauer's replacement. And Dusty Casey is on our team. He's also on the call. He's helping us with all sorts of financial projects over at the SPCSA. And we also have Molly Burkhart from our team on the call. So thanks again, and we're going to just jump right into this and get started. While Dusty starts sharing his screen, I do want to address one really, really important thing. And that is, well, first of all, I want to thank the schools who brought this to my attention. Because we're working with multiple authorizers here, the communication pathways are not as straightforward as, we would all often like them to be. And this is really our first time doing a project like this. So we definitely are learning a lot. But one of the things that we realized is that some schools, and so far they've only been schools outside the SPCSA, but I want to bring it up for everyone just in case. There were some schools who on their employee report included individuals who they either used an employee leasing service for, or they were like 1099 employees. They were not direct employees of the school. So, and those people are not eligible for these funds. So please, please, if you believe that you have included someone who is not a direct employee of the school, and one little check you can say in your mind is, do I pay PERS on this person? And if you don't, you probably included someone that shouldn't be included here. So if you have someone like that, please reach out to us and let us know. The absolute worst thing that we could do is take a plan to IFC and misappropriate and misuse these funds. It will be the kiss of death for us getting this money in the future, for us getting other money. Like, this last year they got money for difficult to fill positions, and they said, oh, we'll add the charters on next session to that. Like, this is our chance, and if we misappropriate and misuse these funds, we're going to have an even harder time getting equitable access to other funding streams. So please, I'm going to say it one more time. If you believe that you have included someone on your employee account who is in fact not a direct employee of the school, that you're either getting through a employee leasing company, they have an LLC, they're a 1099 employee, those people cannot be given a raise with these funds, and we need you to let us know. We have identified over 100 people who were inappropriately counted in this count. So what that means is on Monday, you will get an updated workbook. That per pupil amount will actually go up because there were approximately 100 people that we know of so far that got counted that shouldn't have. So,
this office.
It's unfortunate.
Removing any desks? Are we sending any of these desks to the new side? Are we buying?
Hey, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Um, so that is, first and foremost, please let us know so we can get this right. And again, to reiterate, you will get a new workbook on Monday that is going to have an on line 9 there on that worksheet, the amount per FTE. It will be higher because we're going to be pulling out about 100 employees from the count. So just know that. In the meantime, you can still sort of be working out your methodology, etc. But with that, I'm going to jump in and sort of go through this workbook. It's relatively simple. It'll go pretty quick, and then we can ask questions. So I'm just going to go through it sort of line by line. We're going to start with line 5 or tab 1, which is the summary tab. And on that summary tab, line 5 has the charter holder name. It has the number of campuses on line 6 that you have. It will list who your LEA is. It will have the award amount per FTE across all charter schools. And that number is going to change, as I just talked about. It has the total eligible FTEs based on October 1, 2024 count right there. Obviously, this is not a real school here with their two eligible employees. It has the total award that you will be getting on line 11 right there. And then on line 12, that is where it's going to check your work from tabs 2 through 11. So that is why if you have not read the guidance document, it says in there in big bold letters, do not delete tabs. I know some of you are going to be like, we only have one campus or we only have 2 campuses. We can delete the rest of this. No, it's a formula. It will mess it up. This is a little check right here to make sure that your math is mathing. So please do not delete any tabs. Before I move on to the allocations, I do just want to take 1 minute and go back up to line 10, total eligible FTEs based on the October 1 count. And I just want to sort of talk through that one more time with you. So educational support professionals, this is outlined in the guidance document, but it is defined as a person other than a teacher or administrator who is employed at a charter school, including without limitation, paraprofessionals, instructional aides, school police officers, resource officers, security services, nurses, counselors, psychologists, social workers, bus drivers, administrative assistants, bookkeepers, IT specialists, custodial and maintenance staff, and food services. So it's basically everybody else who is not a teacher or administrator. The other eligible employees are teachers. A teacher is defined as a person licensed pursuant to Chapter 391 of NRS, who's hired by the governing board of your school to be a teacher. I want to reiterate that administrators are not eligible. So again, an administrator is defined as any person who spends at least 50% of their work year supervising other staff or licensed personnel or both, and who is not classified by their governing body as a professional technical employee. So that's executive directors, principals, CEOs, vice principals, those sorts of positions. So again, please make sure that you have not included any administrators in this count. And I'll say it one more time. These people have to be direct employees of your school. If you get your school psychologist or your speech therapist and they're not from an employee leasing service, or they have an LLC and you 1099 those people, they're not eligible. These are employees of the school. So just reiterate those, and again, encourage you to really read that guidance document. It's only 5 pages, and it's really important that you take the time to read it. So we went through line 12, which is again automatically going to calculate based on tabs 2 through 11. So again, please do not delete any tabs or you'll mess the formula up. And then we have there the allocation methodology. So again, anything in blue in this worksheet is what the school is going to fill out. And in the guidance document, the 5-page guidance document, there are some directions starting on the end of page 2 about the narrative. So it is going to be assumed that all eligible employees receive these funds unless they are identified in the narrative as not being included. Okay. Indicate in the narrative if AB $398 will be used to pay PERS benefits associated with the salary increase, or if the school will absorb that expense. So I'm going to read you 2 sort of examples that you might have. ABC 123 Charter School did not include paraprofessionals, food service workers, administrative assistants, or bus drivers because the school has competitive salaries for those positions. As such, our board determined to allocate all the funds to licensed teachers and educational support professionals whose salaries were less competitive. In fiscal year 25, we lost 13 teachers and counselors to outside entities because we were unable to provide competitive salaries. By using these allocations as outlined, we believe we will be better positioned to hire and maintain a highly qualified staff. One of our campuses qualified as a Title I school. The board determined that teachers at the Title I school should receive a $5,100 raise. Teachers at non-Title I schools will receive a $4,500 raise. Educational support professional raises vary by position. The school will pay the PERS amount associated with the raise out of the general fund. So that means this particular school, they're not giving the money to all of their employees, and they have identified which ones they are not including and why. And they are saying, we're not going to use the AB 395 money for the PERS increase based on these, $5,000 and $4,000 raises. We're going to absorb that out of the general fund. Okay. Another example, XYZ Charter School included all employees except the administrative assistants and custodial staff in the raises. Historically, we have not had any issues hiring and maintaining individuals in these positions at current salary levels. The board determined to give licensed employees a slightly higher raise, $3,900, than non-licensed employees, $2,700. The board will use AB 398 funds for the additional PERS benefits resulting from the raises. So this school is going to use this money to offset the raise from PERS, or to offset the PERS increase based on the raise they're getting. I do want to just talk a little bit about starting on line 17. You will see that both the board chair and the school leader are going to have to sign this. And I want to talk a little bit about what you are signing off and acknowledging. The first one is, and this is really important, so I hope you're listening. The legislature was very, very clear about this. This is meant to supplement, not supplant. So what does that mean? It means that, for example, if your school has a pay scale and every year teachers get a step up, or every year you give everyone a 2% COLA raise or something like that, these funds are not used to pay for already established raises. Okay, that is supplanting. They're not, you can't do that. Additionally, this money is not to be used to pay for the already scheduled PERS increase, right? That PERS increase that we're all suffering from right now, that was going to happen whether you got this money or not. These funds are not to be utilized for that purpose. Okay, so you're signing off acknowledging that. The next thing is you can use the PERS, you can pay PERS associated with the raise. Okay, so if the teacher's getting a $4,000 raise and there's, 34% PERS on that, you can pay that portion of PERS, but not the overall increase that went into effect statewide. And then the other thing that you're signing off on is that you understand and you acknowledge that you're going to have to create a new fund in your budget just like you have a special education fund, an ELL fund, maybe you have a gate fund if you get those dollars. You're going to have a new fund. It will be Fund 220. You are going to have to track this money. There will be a lot of reporting coming back to see exactly where this money went. Okay, so and I can't reiterate enough, this is sort of our chance here, and we don't want to mess it up. So we need to be doing this appropriately and correctly. And if you're not going to be eligible next time. It's not fair to everyone else in the sector who really needs these funds, and it will take the responsibility seriously of keeping track of them, budgeting for them, etc. Okay, I'm going to jump to the campus tabs, and then we'll see if there's any questions. So, let's see. Okay, thanks. Dusty went to the tab. Thank you. We're going to start on line 6. That's where you're going to enter the campus name. Some of you have multiple campuses. That's where you're going to put, Low-C campus. I'm trying to think. Nellis campus, whatever your campus name is, commonly known as, please put that there. It should have your school name, and your LEA will carry forward. And then when you, right there on line 9, there's very specific instructions. I would highly recommend that you read the instructions. But essentially what they tell you to do is, if you go down there to line 15, that is where you will essentially enter in everyone's name who is going to be getting a raise with these funds. So, you would say, like, there's a couple examples there, and you should delete the examples. Those are just there for your benefit. But, Sally Gomez, then there's a drop down. So you will pick, they're either a teacher or an educational support professional. You will indicate in column C there, what would their raise have, or what would their salary have been prior to AB 398? So if you hadn't got this money, what would their salary have been? Then the next column over, column D there, that is the salary increase that this individual is going to get. It'll do the math for you there in column E, and tell you what the total salary will be. Then in column F, that is where you will pick, Dusty, can you click on it so that you'll see the drop down there? That's where you're going to pick whether the employee is going to be doing employee only or employer PERS. You only are going to pick one of those if you're using the AB 398 money to pay that increase. So that first teacher there, that salary is going to be $5,400. Their PERS increase was $735. If you're going to use this money to pay for that, then go ahead and put something in there. If you're not, if your school wants to say, no, we're going to use general funds to absorb the PERS increase, then just put NA. Okay. So again, this is where this should match the narrative on the first page. If you say that the school will pay for the PERS associated with this raise out of the general fund, then this should be left blank. Okay. We understand that you probably may have positions that aren't filled yet. If that is the case, you should say 3rd grade teacher, TBD, and then put your estimate in for what you have in your budget for that person and what their raise would be. We recognize that you may still be out there doing hiring. That is, of course, totally okay. Just put TBD. There's a good example there on line 16 of that. If you're guessing, I guess, if you haven't hired yet, it is probably in your best interest. Dusty, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it, if they aren't sure who it's going to be, what is the more expensive option for PERS? It's the EEER, right?
The shared plan, well, it's that the employee gets to elect it. So
I know, but if you haven't hired the person yet, and that is in your sort of having to pick
Yes.
pick that one because it's going to cost a little bit more, and then you'll be safe. It would be a conservative approach, essentially. And then again, you will just delete those examples, and you will fill this out for every single one of your campuses. And again, it's going to keep track of everything. And there's going to be that check over on the first tab to ensure that what you're doing adds up to the dollar amount that you've been that you're eligible for. So with that, I will stop and see if there's any questions on the workbook. I am going to talk a little bit more about some of the stuff in the guidance document, but I do just want to pause and see if there are questions about the workbook. So let's start with Candy.
Hi, thanks. So are we only listing the staff on this workbook that are getting the raises associated with this money?
Yes.
So we would
100%.
put like admin, or if there was staff that weren't part of it, we wouldn't put them on this workbook.
Yes, great question, Candy. Absolutely. Only put the people who are getting raises based on this, from your, I'm calling it an award, but, based on the amount you're eligible for. Andy.
If we have a mix of people who are on 50-50 contribution plans and 100% contribution plans, should we note that somewhere in here when we're listing those budgeted salaries, or should the salary that we list there already be reduced by the PERS factor is my first question.
Yeah, it should be. Yes.
Yes, your salaries should be adjusted for your in lieu of factor that PERS assigns you. Whether you're doing the reduction or whether you're doing the increase, your salary should reflect that. And then this calculation has that built in already.
But like if somebody elects for 100% PERS, we do reducing it by a factor before we do their monthly payments. Should it be that number so that it's consistent with the 50-50s? Not related to the PERS increase. This is just related to which plan they elect.
Yes, you should plug in the adjusted salary, whether it's, like I said, whether it's reduced down, or if you're in lieu of flat factor, if you adjust it up, then that should be calculated in there. For example, this shared plan here, this is only calculating at the 19.25%, which means the employee's portion is built into this salary. So yeah, make sure your salaries are already adjusted when you input them in over here, and your raise for that amount.
Yeah, gotcha. And then my next question is, can this be paid out to employees all in one lump sum, or does it have to be added to their whole salary and divided out over however many times we pay them a year?
Do you need me?
I actually
Do you need me? Or are you just talking?
Somebody's unmuted, so if you could mute yourself, that'd be great. That's a great question. I think you can do it however you want, Andy, but let me just double check. I'm pretty sure you can do it however you want, but I just want to confirm that.
Okay.
Melissa, if I could jump in on that real quick. I do know the districts had struggles getting these plans through if they tried to structure them as a lump sum, like similar to a bonus or a stipend, because that's generally difficult with PERS. The salary increases have to be structured as an actual increase to salary, not a bonus that is eligible for PERS, is my understanding, if it's similar to what the districts had to do last session.
I think what we currently pay teachers over 11 months, I think what we're going to try to do with this is have that now be over 10 months and have that 11-month be from this revenue source, just to try to keep it from a paperwork standpoint, as easy as possible. But as we work through it, I'll ask some more questions about that. Last question I had was around how the different, I guess, job titles or categories were calculated. Like we have what's showing on this version of the workbook that we have now, so we'll wait for the updated, but 3.6 paraprofessionals. And I wouldn't have considered anybody that we put on that form a paraprofessional. So just curious how we get a, not a full FTE allocation, what would have triggered that, and then who all is umbrellaed under paraprofessional.
So anyone that you put down as like an instructional aide, so I'll just tell you without getting too into it, essentially what happened is on the October 1 report, it's clear in the directions, like this is what you should be putting in this column, but then people didn't put that in the column. They put whatever they wanted, right? Like they were like, well, we call them a teacher's helper, so I'm going to put teacher's helper in there. Or we don't call it a coach, we call it an academic strategy specialist. So they typed academic strategy specialist in there, right? And so it does lead to a little bit of like interpretation on our part about what they are, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what they get called. They're all equal to the same amount. One FTE is one FTE. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what eligibility they kind of fell under, if that makes sense.
Okay. Our guess was it was like our office manager and registrar, which that just seemed like an odd grouping for them, but I think that's probably what it is. So thank you.
Okay. James Kuzma.
Thank you. So I emailed you earlier about this too, but so at our school we pay our retirees that we rehire through a different organization that might have not showed up as part of those 87, but they're teaching, they're counselors.
If they're paid through a different organization, they're not eligible for these funds. And I did go back and confirm that with the legislature.
Okay.
So yeah. So if you're bringing back employees that are retired and you're not paying them as a direct employee, they are not eligible. If you think you have counted people in your count that fall into that category, please email me by the end of the day and let me know how many we're talking about, because we've already identified over 100. So
they're paid as regular teachers.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They have to be direct employees of the school.
Okay. And then just an observation on the working through the spreadsheet, it would have been easier if column 8 was blue. Because then you could just put the total number you want to hit, and then everything else would have worked backwards. That's just my observation.
Okay. Natcham.
Sorry, I had to find the mute mic. So we have some employees that we hired at a lower salary than the predecessor and vice versa at a higher salary. How do you handle those in the workbook?
I mean, just list
Put in
their
the
name
regular
and
salary?
I guess I don't understand the question. I mean, whatever their salary is, if Dusty and I are both third grade teachers and you're paying me $40,000 and you're paying him 80, like you're just going to list that in there.
Well, I mean, for the salary increase, would you just show the compared to what it was on the count last year? With the new teacher is paid lower than the old teacher. So yeah, we could put in the salaried amount, but there's really no increase because they actually took a pay cut compared to the previous year.
Well, this isn't the previous year. This is what would this teacher's salary have been had you not had AB 398 not passed. And so, if I get what you're saying, like an expensive teacher retired and now you have a first year teacher who's going to make $48,000. That's okay. They were going to make $48,000 and now because of this raise, they're going to make $51,000, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, that's totally fine.
Gotcha.
There was, you may have seen an earlier version where we had the previous year in there and we took that out. So that's not a part of this anymore.
Okay.
Okay, Kelly Humphreys.
Hi, thanks. So we have a couple staff who are working toward licensure and will start the year as a long-term sub, but like in November, be eligible to apply for their teaching license. And I just wanted to know how they are employed by the school.
Are they a teacher of record? Like they're working on their, but they're assigned as the second grade? Just put them down as a teacher.
Correct. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Hi, I have just one statement, first of all, about these saying, can we just do this as a one-time payment? And I understand what Dusty's saying about not being a stipend or a bonus, but just for when I'm thinking of reporting purposes, right, for their funds, if we need to report for a fund, it would be easier to give them this, $2,000 check type of thing, be able to report it to that restriction, not fund, the restriction of 220 and just code it as a salary, right? Just kind of making that would be
I
the
think the
easy.
issue is whether or not you're paying PERS on it. I think that is the bigger issue, but we will ask some questions and I will send an email out. Yeah.
And then just a question, I have the same question as someone that put it in the chat, so I'm going to ask it for us. If it's not guaranteed, this is something, if it gets voted on, I don't know how long it might be guaranteed for, 2 years or 1 year, or if it has to go in front and get voted on each year. Is this something that once it's given to the teachers, that's it, increases their salary? And if we don't get funding next year, we have to keep paying that out of the general fund? Or is it something that's contingent? Is this raise contingent on this funding? Can you?
Well, I mean, if I were you, I would definitely make sure that in your contract, it's clear that it's contingent on funding. I mean, each school can obviously handle that how they want, but
Yeah.
I certainly would, if it was me, I would make it very clear that it is contingent on the funding. And
some
we
schools
will
can afford to absorb it, but some can't, right? So
yeah,
okay.
exactly. And we will have to do this again next year. However, we will be doing it right after we do that October 1 report. We'll have the district charter schools doing that same report, and we'll get it all worked out for next year, well before the school year ends. So that way going into next year, you should be like on top of it and it won't be this like stressful situation that it is this year.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's why I think it just makes it a little simpler. When you're going back and asking the question about it being a separate payment, I think that just makes it a little bit easier because it's like it differentiates it for even just visually for the teachers, for the expenses, for everybody. So thank you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Melissa, can I address something real quick?
Yeah.
So I want to be clear about the difference between a bonus and a salary, or a stipend and a salary. Regardless of whether you choose to use AB $398 to cover the PERS or not, this salary increase to an employee who is already enrolled in PERS, that portion you have to pay PERS on. So when we say that the salary is PERSable, you cannot give them a lump sum and not pay PERS on it. Regardless of whether you decide to include it with AB $398 or pay it out of your general fund or your special education fund or whatever other fund you're using, you cannot pay it as a one-time. So as long as you can pay it in one check and still pay PERS on it, and you can do your report to PERS, and that's all good with PERS. Usually bonuses, PERS doesn't really like the bonus structure, but if you can do that and still pay PERS on it, then so be it. I don't think that part really matters. But what you cannot do, and Melissa, please correct me if I'm wrong, you cannot pay this as a bonus and refuse to pay the PERS associated with that money, because it is meant to be a raise to their compensation that is also raises their PERS benefit.
Yep,
so I
that's
hope
exactly
that clears
right.
it up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Sally?
Hi, thank you. It would be good to have that confirmation because I think that's what we would like to do. and you'll forward that confirmation to us to make sure that we can do that as long as we pay the PERS. So that was kind of a question. It wasn't my only question. I have another question. So the amount of the number of employees on the report looks like it was reported as only teachers, but it appears that we can include admin staff, like administrative assistants and custodians. So that would be an additional number of employees that we would have.
What school are you with?
Pardon me?
What school are you with?
I'm with Coral Academy.
In Northern Nevada?
In Northern Nevada, yes.
Okay, they did include other, we got that from Washoe County, and they did include other people.
They did?
Yep, quite a few.
That's
so,
the number of our teachers that I reported.
Yep, I'll forward it to you, but that's
okay.
what they, yeah. So we can't add anyone at this point. We have to go with what they reported out, and I will forward that to you, but it definitely absolutely includes
other. It does. That's interesting. Yes, please forward that to me, because that's not a correct number.
One thing that might be throwing you off is, remember, this was as of October of 2024.
Right.
So
well,
it's
I'm the one
not
that prepared the report and included that. That's the number of that was the number of teachers, not any additional staff.
Yep, I will forward you on
okay.
what we got. Will you put when you're done, will you put your email in the chat just so I have it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm muting myself now.
Okay. Stephanie.
Yes, thank you. I just want to clarify again, when you're talking about the different columns, you said the first column for the salary should already be reduced or adjusted. I shouldn't say reduced, adjusted for whatever PERS it is, 100% or 50-50. And then you also said the second column there, the next column over, where you putting the increase, that also should be adjusted for the PERS. If you're going to use AB 398 for paying the PERS, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to double check that. Thank you very much.
Great question. Kyle?
Hi, Melissa. Just one question on, so you mentioned that we can use these funds for PERS as a result of an increase in pay, but as an increase in pay due to these additional funds, or the regular increase in pay?
Not the regular. Anything that was separate from this money. So if this teacher was already get a 2% raise, because that's how your salary schedule works, and we all know that there was a big PERS increase this year, that you cannot use. But if you're giving them a $2,000 raise and that adds $735 to their PERS benefit, you can use it for that portion of PERS. The portion of PERS associated with the raise is what you can use it for.
Okay, and then in your previous statement, Title I school that we also give a bonus to our special education teacher, not bonus, but an increase in salary of $5,000. So if we want to exclude our special education teachers, I need to tell you how many, so they're not in the overall number, or just
you don't even need to tell me how many. You just need to say in the narrative, we didn't include special education teachers because we already had a substantial raise built in for those teachers prior to getting this funding, right? Or so you don't need to go into like, we have 8 special ed teachers. We don't need to know any of that. It just, if for some reason you're not going to include special ed teachers, go ahead and tell us why.
Okay, but then our per teacher raise would increase if we exclude 8 teachers that are special education teachers. Overall increase a little bit.
Yeah, to be clear, Kyle, you don't have to, and that's why, again, everybody really needs to read that 5-page guidance document. This does not have to be equitably distributed among employees. Let's say that the end number comes out to be $3,200. You don't have to give every employee $3,200. You might, like I said, we know there are schools that aren't going to give anyone except teachers raises, right? So that means they're going to get more than $3,200. We might have schools that are like, we want to give our sped teachers a higher raise than our general ed teachers, right? Like you can divide it up however you want. So it doesn't, you know,
Gotcha.
yeah. You have flexibility there to make decisions that work best for you.
And Melissa, I would note that it's also not limited to full-time employees who are already enrolled in PERS. This is your total FTEs, which includes part-time employees. So if you have employees who are only half FTE reported on your report and you want to give somebody, similar to my example here, example 3, I use John Smith, who's clearly a part-time employee. This person's not subject to PERS, so we leave it out, but they are still getting a raise. So the money is distributed how you want to distribute it, as long as it's not distributed to administrators.
Does that answer your question, Kyle?
It 110% does.
Okay, perfect. Emily?
Hey, thank you. And thank you to the whole team for putting this together over the summer. I think I had maybe a question about managing expectations. Typically when we raise salary, we don't drop it, right? And so like I'm about to tell somebody you're going from 52 to 54, but only for a year. So just to clarify in terms of kind of the 2-year allocation, it feels like we know for sure that we're going to have this chunk of money going into 25, 26, right? Then it sounds like we're going to have some money going into 26, 27 before the assembly meets again, but we have no idea how much that is. So to the point that you made earlier about contingency on funding into the contract, it feels like I need to be clear to my people that like, I am giving you a raise for this year only. I'll be able to give you a raise forever, but I don't actually know that. And then we also have no sense of like, if 26, 27 will be this same roughly $3,000 amount. So I can't kind of lock it in for 2 years.
Yeah, we know that whatever that per pupil whatever that per eligible employee amount is this year, it's going to be less next year, right? We have brand new charter schools that are coming on board that will be counted this year that aren't included in this right now. We have a lot of charter schools that are on slow growth models, right? So we know it's the exact same total amount of money, that 19,300,000 whatever $1,000 it is. That's how much we get next year too. But what it's going to equate to per eligible FTE is going to be less next year because there's more employees that we're going to be counting. Does that make sense, Emily?
It does. So like the pie that was given to us was not
Yes.
the pie of that amount. It was a pie for the SBCSA, given the fact that the SBCSA will have more teachers and more educational professionals next year. Okay. So we should actually be managing toward lower amounts going to next year. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that was a question that they were kind of confused about, but the funding will at least continue into next year. And then after that, the assembly could do whatever they wanted with it.
Yes.
Can I ask again, kind of philosophical, when I look at what like CCSD is offering our very experienced teachers after their raises, it seems like it's way more than 3,000 more, right? It seems like CCSD got access to a much bigger per teacher allocation. Was there any sense of equity there where like they looked at how much money was given to the larger districts and then they looked at how much they could give to us and it was a similar pie that we could cut from, or was that not even part of the conversation?
Supposedly, but I was really never ever able to get anyone to definitively tell me how they came up with that $19 million.
That
I know in the end, they added a little bit to it so that we could include, Washoe County Charter Schools and Carson City. Of course, we want to include them, but again, my opinion, it did seem a little arbitrary how they came up with that number. And I cannot sit here today, Emily, and tell you that, yeah, it was equitable to what districts got. I really don't know.
That's totally fine. I just wanted to communicate it to teachers. Appreciate that. That works for me.
Arjan?
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. My first question is about the those vacancies, we can list them as vacancies. They are going to be, we are going to fill them. For example, let's say in our network, we have got 5 vacancies, and by end of this fiscal year, we were able to fill 4 of them, 1 couldn't fill. Then are we going to turn that money back, or how it's going to work at the end of the year?
So if you put a TBD there, like on line 16, and you don't ever end up filling it, maybe it's for some weird like parapro or, I don't know, some other weird position, and you don't fill it, yes, the money will, I actually think we may be able to roll it forward, but I'm not even 100% sure. It might just divert all the way back.
Yeah, and my second question is for next year's, allocations, you are going to use this year's October 1st numbers, and also, are we? Again, I assume that we are going to have another board-approved plan to submit next year. Another this year's is just for this year.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly right. And hopefully, if we go to IFC, Arjan, and we get, beat up and raked over the coals, then we'll make those adjustments. And what I'm hoping is that this mostly works and we don't have to make too many massive adjustments to how we're doing it, but it's all going to depend on how it turns out at IFC.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff.
Hi, Melissa. Just a quick question. So we've grown quite a bit, and we hired some Battleborn teachers when we noticed there was something like 70,000 for Battleborn. Just wondering, is there any way to adjust funds partway for schools that are growing, or are we kind of locked in, and where does that?
No, I know that's the bad thing. And that's why, like, even the new charter schools this year, they're not getting at, like, we have, I think 3 charter schools opening this year. It's all based on the rears, and we just don't have a way to do that, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Abby?
My question was actually answered, so thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Nachum?
Quick question. We're actually closed today, but I know when we did our testing, and I know you've been on the phone with Trevor when we confirmed our FTEs on that, I can guarantee, I am 100% sure our FTEs included some contracted employees. I don't know if we're part of the 100 that you've already found.
No.
Okay.
You're not.
Can we let you know the exact number tomorrow for each campus? Because for whatever reason, we have Patriots Day off. So I don't have anyone in the office.
Yeah. God, Patriots Day. Why aren't we all taking that day off? Okay.
It's the beauty of having a CEO that sits in Utah.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. It's all coming together for me. Okay. So yes, please let me know tomorrow.
This will be the first thing we work on in the morning.
Okay, awesome. And again, you guys, please don't like be like, oh, we messed up, we included that, we're just not going to say anything. No, it's okay. This has been a fast and furious process. It's okay that it wasn't crystal clear. Like, it's better to say, hey, we messed up and we included some people that were contract employees that shouldn't be included. So please, please, please let us know so we can make those corrections. Wendy?
Hello, yes. I have a couple, so I'll just one at a time. Will we need to write new, like, our teachers have all signed contracts, right? When they left in May, will they need a new contract to include this, or like a new contract just stating this amount? Are you guys going to require that as part of your?
You are going to have to turn in a standard contract. We're not going to collect every teacher's contract.
Oh, okay.
But we, I mean, you're going to want to talk to your legal counsel. I would think that, there would be some sort of addendum to the contract or something, for sure. But again, you'll have to work with, your team to determine what makes sense for your context. Like,
okay,
I probably would have just done like an addendum, but maybe your attorney is going to be like, no, we need to redo the whole contract and change the amount and put the language in there that says, this raise is contingent on funding going something
forward,
like that.
right? I
So
just
yeah,
didn't know if
yeah.
I just didn't want to make sure that we did something. So you guys aren't gonna. I
No,
know you just needed the general contracts that was in the notes and everything, but
Yeah.
so you're not going to collect those because we just want to make sure we're doing that for your purpose the right way. So okay.
Yeah, no,
perfect.
we're not going to collect.
Okay.
We're not going to turn
Require
in.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
IFC, they weren't interested in getting 6,000 teachers contracts as it turned
Okay.
out.
Right.
I offered and they said no,
Right.
thank you. So
Now, my next question is, does this have to be paid out by June 30th or is it through, because a lot of the contracts for us like go August 1st through 7th through July 31st.
that is a great question. I actually think it's fine, but let me double check that.
Okay.
Tell me
just because you have that month,
what's
that
your
month
contract window?
Our contract for for generally everybody, if they're not 12 months, they're August 1st through July 31st.
Yeah. Okay.
Our 12-month go, there's only a couple of those, but most of them are admin, so they wouldn't matter anyways.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the teachers, there's that month there. If we just need to make sure it's all paid, I guess before June 30th.
Yeah. I'm 90% sure yes, but I'm writing
Probably.
that down as
Okay.
one of the questions that I will put in an answer on Monday to everyone. I
Okay.
can't do it tomorrow because we have our board meeting, but yeah.
And then also, is this going to be sent to us just as one lump sum, and then we put it in the fund, and then like you said, we'll have to account for it, and then send back. Like you said, there may be if say someone leaves and we can't refill this position or whatever. If we have money left over, we'll just have to resend that. It's not a reimbursement type of situation.
It's not
Okay.
a reimbursement. Yeah,
Gotcha.
It's not a reimbursement. And what was the first part of your question? It made me think of
The new contracts, the June 30th, or if, like I said, they leave, you're just going to send it in a lump sum.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then we just obviously in our accounting system will have to account for the PERS. My one last question, and I got called to the front office. You may have said it in column C when you said the budgeted salary. Is that their base salary? Or is that like if they're a 50-50, are you putting the increase?
Yeah, you're going to make the whatever the PERS adjustment. Some schools they increase it. Some schools they it just depends on how you do it. But that should be the adjusted salary.
Their full
based
salary.
on yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, just wanted to make sure on that.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. The only other quick comment I had was we use paychecks, and I know like when we've used other grants like AB 400, we'll put just as like a separate, like we have their regular salary of whatever it is, and then say they have AB 400, the transportation hours. It's still a salary, but it's just listed as AB 400, so that as for us tracking, it's easier. That might be another option. I'm just wondering for schools is if you put AB 398 as the additional salary and make it it is a salary, so you pay PERS on it, but that it's listed separately in your payroll.
Yeah, because let me reiterate.
Yeah.
You are going to have to account for where every penny of this money went. So yes, definitely work with your fiscal team to do what makes sense there so that you can report out on where all of this money ended up.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy.
Yeah, my question is more about the board approval. Does the exact spreadsheet need to be approved, or can we have them approve like an allocation method given the changing allocations?
Yeah, especially if your board meeting's like scheduled for Monday, right? If that was the case, I would give them as complete of a workbook as you can, and just explain to them that allocation number might change and that it's going to be adjusted. But yes, that would be acceptable.
Perfect. Thank you.
Was that Jeremy? Wasn't that just Jeremy?
Yeah, that
I'm
was
sorry.
me. I'm trying to get
Sorry,
the hand
I'm
to go
losing
away.
track of who I called on. I'm sorry, Julie.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, does the statute require that this count come from October? Because
kind of given all the epicenter tasks, I certainly wouldn't mind having one that is actually specifically dedicated to this that would lessen the confusion. I mean, I think people are a little bit confused as to like, why is it taken from that October instead of like, hey, here's a task, input your teachers and these folks, don't include your admin. This is going to be used for raises.
Yeah.
Could we just do that?
Completely valid, Julie. It is in the statute that it's the October count, but I promise you, when you fill that form out this year, it's going to look a little bit different, and it's going to make it. Your point is completely valid. When everyone did that last October, nobody understood that it was going to be used for raises, right? Like now, obviously, hopefully they still did an accurate job on it, but we will definitely be including some specifics to where like we're going to have some drop down, so you can't just randomly put positions in there. You have to choose one of the ones that are there. You have to indicate whether they're, we definitely know that can be improved so everyone is more clear on it. And your point is completely valid, fair, and I promise this October it will be more clear.
And then maybe like I don't know, sometime in the year, like, hey, let's validate.
And I think, yep. And so once we do that, we're going to have a verification window. So we'll do our tabulation. We'll make it a task that everyone has to verify, and then, yep.
Awesome. I know it was rushed, so I get it. But
I know, and believe me, everything you're thinking. I'm glad you're asking, but yes, you're thinking all the things that we've already said. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Arjan?
Quick question, 2 questions. One of them is hopefully in October or November, without any challenge or problems, we are got approved by IFC, all charters. Then what's going to be the next? Are we going to receive the funds directly to our accounts right away, or what's the process?
That's my understanding. Now, I'll be honest with you, Arjan. I know that they can't release them to us until after that, but I don't really understand, I don't understand their timeline necessarily. So if this gets approved at their October IFC, I don't know if it's going to take them 24 hours or 2 weeks to release the funds to us, right?
No, we are going to receive to our accounts. It's not like a reimbursement based or something.
No, it's not reimbursement based, and it'll come from us. It'll come to us, and then it'll go to you.
Okay, thank you. My second question is, maybe it is in the guidance. I didn't have a chance to read all through. Do we need, besides board approval, do we need to send board minutes?
Yes, the agenda and the minutes.
The minutes, okay. Thank you.
So make sure your agenda is really clear that you're approving teacher raises based on AB 398 funding, something like that, so that it's really clear and easy to see.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Michelle?
I think maybe part of my question just got answered, but since this is kind of a timeline that this is not guaranteed even for this year, right? This is the plan, then it goes in front of them, right? Is there a chance that this won't be given out? I don't know, we're doing an addendum to their contract and saying you're going to get this, but then it has to go through all this approval process.
I would not make any changes to any contracts until this is approved through IFC.
Okay, which is really not something till like November, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think obviously be proactive and communicate out with your people, and this is what we're anticipating, but I wouldn't put anything into a legal document until after.
Maybe a memo that kind of states the timeline and the expectation to something, but
and in the guidance document it talks about let me see if I can find it. It's like within 45 days you will have, that's when you would actually put this. So within 45 days of the decision, I want to find it and read it exactly to you, but I can't. You will have to do an amended final budget. So at that point, that's when you would create that fund, put the money in there, and that's when you would want to update those contracts, right? Because then it's in a legally board approved budget.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Matt.
All right, thanks. This is kind of a mixture of two questions already asked, so I just want to clarify. As far as new staff for 25, 26, that, it'll be the first year with us. Raises aren't typically given to staff that are new. So, if are we able, as Docum asked earlier, if we lost a first grade teacher at like 55 and then gained another first grade teacher at 60, are we able to account for that increase?
Well,
Or,
just if there's someone you're not giving a raise to, don't include them on the table. Right now,
well, we would still include them to account for PERS, correct?
well, not if they're not getting a raise.
If the raise is, even if the raise is 0 because they're new staff, the PERS calculation on the right would increase, correct?
No. If you don't give them any sort of raise in column 4, then, or column D, I guess, there would be no. So think about it this way. In a school district, they have a salary schedule, right? And so what those school districts did was they negotiated raises with all of their different associations, and they changed their salary schedules. So even first year teachers, they ended up getting the raise because the whole salary schedule changed, right? So even though they were a first year teacher at that school, all the numbers on that scale went up, so they all got a raise. Right now, some of you don't have salary schedules. Some of you only have, you like negotiate individually. And if you want to take the stance that, Melissa's a brand new teacher at our school and we're not giving her a raise, we're offering her $60,000, we're not giving her a raise, then just don't put her name on your sheet.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Julie?
Sorry, I just didn't put my hand down.
Oh, okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'm going to very, very quickly just go over the guidance document. Again, I'm really going to encourage you to read it. I've already talked about the definition of teachers and educational support staff. So if you're still confused, please go back and read it. Again, our timeline is still to present this at the October IFC. Hopefully we don't hit any more unexpected hurdles. And that's still our goal. August 15th, if you're an SPCSA school, this will all be due in Epicenter. If you're a Washoe or Carson school, your LEA will submit it on your behalf. You're going to have, the boards are required to approve the AB 398 teacher allocation worksheet, where we'll have board agendas, board minutes, a sample teacher contract. And if you have contracts for like a parapro, just give us a sample one of those. I just really want to reiterate that we are not going to have the capacity to chase you down. If you submit the workbook and you don't submit your teacher or your agenda or your minutes, we're not going to have the capacity to run these down. So please be very, very diligent that you do this correctly. And it's better to reach out and ask us questions on the front end than the back end. And then that's it. Julie, did you have another question?
I did have a question. So they're going to be draft minutes, right?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. 100%. Yep. Draft minutes, 100% fine. And it says that in the guidance document as well. It says draft or final, but I realize the odds of anyone having a final are
two board meetings.
Pretty insane. Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Okay.
So
good. Thanks.
Karen.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the microphone. Just want to clarify. So if you have a new hire and they would have been paid 50,000 on your salary schedule, you can still give them a
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just kind of got the impression from the previous person that they didn't necessarily want to give the raise to people who were brand new at their school, and that's their prerogative. We're trying to make this give you guys the autonomy to use this money how you and your boards see fit and what you think is best. So
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I'm advising the
yeah,
board appropriately. So
yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. Yep. Okay, any other questions? All right, you guys, please do not hesitate to reach out if you do have questions. And again, I thank you for your patience, for your responsiveness. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I will say it one more time. If you believe that you have contract employees who are counting in your number, people that aren't direct employees of your school, please let us know tomorrow what that number is. All right. Thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you soon.